Yes, there is another day, and yes, the Lakers have not made a deal, but they are interested in another high level all star big man that could be one of the best offensive big men on the market, and he could be available at a cheaper price than what the market is expecting, and the Lakers could have a chance to pounce on it. What's good? I'm Okechi Apakama, and this is the Lakers Digest coming at you with another video. And before we get into everything we have for today's video, I just want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to get those Laker updates. Now, with that out of the way, let's hop into our top story of the day, and that is the Lakers are interested in Nikola Vucevic. So yes, it's another day, and I know Rob Pelinka hasn't made that deal yet, but the Lakers are still gauging the interest of what they are looking for in that big man market, and Nikola Vucevic is yet another name that the Lakers have been linked to and attached to, as this recent report states. So the Lakers, Warriors, Pelicans, Pistons are among the teams interested in Nikola Vucevic per Brett Siegel of Clutch Sports. And he said that Vucevic, on the other hand, is drawing interest from the Warriors, Lakers, Pelicans, Pistons. Sources say several other teams may very well emerge as suitors for Vucevic ahead of the trade deadline, given his production and experience. So those are some big things to note there for a guy like Nikola Vucevic, because he has been around in this league for quite some time. It is his 14th season here, but he is putting up some of his better numbers in his career this season, and he's kind of having like a comeback to promise to even some of those all-star numbers that he used to be putting up with the Orlando Magic, to points where the Chicago Bulls are playing some pretty good basketball here and there, with Nikola Vucevic being at the center of that. But the Chicago Bulls are looking to sort of retool, revamp, and just kind of change their team as they look to go towards a new direction. That's what happens when they traded Alex Caruso during the summer, and then now it looks like they want to get rid of Nikola Vucevic and also Zach LaVine. Obviously, the Lakers have been linked to Zach LaVine in the past, but this is more about Nikola Vucevic, as he could be an intriguing player for the Los Angeles Lakers if he were to be dealt to this squad. But just first and foremost, let's just dive deeper into why a team like the Chicago Bulls would want to move a guy like Vucevic. And the Chicago Bulls are open to all offers that come their way for Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, sources say. With both former All-Stars healthy, Chicago has received calls about both players, yet nothing is imminent or progressing at this time. Vucevic is more likely of the two players to be moved ahead of the trade deadline due to his production and significantly smaller contract than LaVine. Still, the Bulls believe both players can be moved for draft compensation in several weeks. So a guy like Nikola Vucevic, he is, like I said, is putting up some pretty good numbers this season, and he also has years of experience that playoff teams can definitely utilize, especially come playoff time once we get there. But let's just take a look at his season so far for a guy like Nikola Vucevic, and why he can be touted so highly is he's averaging about 21 points per game and just under 10 rebounds per game at 9.8. 3.2 assists per game, so he's a very solid passer, just under a block and a steal per game, and he's shooting 58% from the field and 47% from 3 points, and that is on pretty decent volume, as he's shooting about 30% in the corners there. And this is, around the age where a guy like Nikola Vucevic, who we know what he does pretty much, what he brings to the table. He's one of those stretch five bigs that can really pull out your opposing team's five man, and also be a guy that can be a solid rebound for you, and also be a guy that can pass a little bit as well. So Nikola Vucevic is just showing what he can do, and he's doing it for the Chicago Bulls, who are underperforming, but they're a team that is probably going to look to have a fire sale sooner rather than later, so they can get some draft compensation and build towards the future. So Nikola Vucevic is at a slightly smaller contract, as he's getting paid around $20 million, and I believe $21 million next season. So a team can definitely cobble together a couple of players or a player and then get a guy like Nikola Vucevic. So it also depends on what it's going to take for a team like the Los Angeles Lakers to get him, and who are they willing to trade in that matter. But for a guy like Vucevic, just some of the things that he can possibly bring to this Lakers squad is that offensive value that of a stretch five, which the Lakers haven't really seen or had since Mark Gasol, really. And it still wasn't up till that volume because I said Vucevic, she's been doing shooting threes at 47% this year, and that's about 4.6 threes a game. So that's a pretty decent volume for a stretch five big man. He can definitely open up that offense, especially for a guy like Anthony Davis, and allow the Lakers to play two big lineups, which is something they haven't been really going back to since those the 2021 season and the year before 2020 when they won the championship in the bubble. So a guy like Nikola Vucevic can allow the Lakers to sort of size up, play a little bit bigger, and have Anthony Davis not really take the brunt of the assignment from some of those bruising fives, as a guy like Vucevic, who's a pretty big-bodied individual. While he is not possibly the defender some other players can be on the market, his offensive value can really alleviate a lot of issues for the Laker offense and make it even harder to double team guys like LeBron James and Anthony Davis, especially when you have a stretch five that can pull you out all the way to the 3-point line. And he's also skilled enough to be a very solid facilitator within your offense, and even if you want to get some post scoring out of him, say if a guy like both guys like Anthony Davis or LeBron James are not on the floor, then you can run some offense through him as well. But the biggest question I have for Vucevic and why he probably isn't my number one guy I think the Lakers should go for is my next topic here is how will he affect the Lakers defense? So it is pretty well known at this point in his career. Nikola Vucevic isn't really a big time shot blocker or defender. He can be a guy that can get burned in switches because he can be a little slow footed at times. And he can be a guy that if you are pretty athletic, some of these more athletic guys in the league, say like an Anthony Edwards, a Jalen Green, some of these guys who are real high fly acts can really go at a guy like Vucevic because he doesn't have too much of a vertical ability. So on the defensive end is that's what really worries me, because at the end of the day, with that offensive value that he can bring, there is still only one basketball on the court, and LeBron James and Anthony Davis are going to get the majority of the shots. So Nikola Vucevic would probably be asked to do some more of the smaller things, and that's where I really want to know if he's actually good at those things. So the rebounding, I think that is solid and has been a thing throughout his career that he has always had in strides. Just take a look at his career stats here, and right there as a defensive rebounder, he's been averaging just about 10.5 in his career, with multiple seasons of double-digit rebounding. So he's a guy when it comes to defensive rebounds that I can definitely trust when it comes to that aspect of defense. But some of the other things, like the switchability, like the being able to block shots, hasn't been really high. But he has done better at it this season. Got to give him credit where credit is due, because he has helped that Bulls team, win some games and been able to do it on the defensive end, because he is a smart, high basketball IQ player, and he's played for a good amount of years. So he kind of knows where to be, when to be. So that does help when you're not as athletic or have the physical tools. But when it comes to those high leverage games, high leverage moments, you're going to need that ability. And a guy like Nikola Vucevic, being on the Orlando Magic and then also being on the Chicago Bulls, we don't really know what type of playoff value a guy like Nikola Vucevic can bring to this team, because we haven't seen him too much in the playoffs at all in his career. I believe he had one playoff season with the Orlando Magic, but that was about it. But and I think a couple playing games with the Bulls. But a guy like Vucevic, we don't really know what he could possibly bring in that playoff atmosphere, if things will change, and what a bigger market would do to him, because that also tends to be a thing with the Los Angeles Lakers. If you are a player coming from, say, a smaller market team, or not from the LA area, obviously, but with Vooch being a former USC guy, he has played in LA before, but playing for the Lakers is a much different feel. So will he feel the pressures of that as well? So we can't really answer that at this point, because he hasn't really been in those situations before. But I did say that he, if the Lakers were to trade for him, it wouldn't cost as much just because a guy like Nikola Vucevic, it looks like the Bulls are just trying to get rid of him and just trying to find any of draft compensation to really get back in their value, just to try to recuperate what they lost when they traded for a guy like Nikola Vucevic, when they traded Wendell Carter Jr. in that deal all those years ago. So the Bulls are trying to look to recuperate their assets, while a team like the Lakers could use another big man. But I'm not really too sure if a guy like Nikola Vucevic is the best option, just because I think we're looking for more of that defensive, high level athlete at times, a guy that you can flank with Anthony Davis, can spell Anthony Davis at moments. That is more of the guy that you are looking for. Nikola Vucevic, while he could be a very good offensive player, can really help boost your offense and be maybe even a solid screen setter and defensive rebounder. There are some things, especially when it comes to the little aspects of basketball, that I truly wonder if he can be good at, and that's, being some of that defensive anchor in his center, being a guy that can be solid in drop coverage, but also cover at the level of the ball, being a guy that can possibly switch. I don't think I don't see any of these things that a guy like Nikola Vucevic does, but maybe other guys in the market who probably don't cost as much money wise. I'm more looking my eye to, and that is that guy over there in Portland who is really wasting minutes over there, and that's Robert Williams. I think he is the guy that the Lakers should really pinpoint their attention to. But let us know what you guys think in the comments down below of a guy like Nikola Vucevic. Do you think he can be a guy that can contribute to helpful winning ways to this Laker team? And do you think the Lakers should make a deal for a guy like Nikola Vucevic, or you are thinking like in my realm, where I'm looking more of a guy like Robert Williams, the third, or another defensive center, some guy to really help flank AD, and be a guy that can be a presence, especially when Anthony Davis sits for rest. Let us know in the comments down below. And also, just one more thing for us, guys. There is about 83% of you who have not subscribed to the channel just yet. And if you guys want more of that Laker news, like updates, trade rumors, game recaps, just every and all things LA Lakers, you guys are going to come right here to Lakers Digest so you don't miss any of that action. All right, guys. I've been your host, Okechi Apakama, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.